Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south. I knew that was going to happen. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We depropagandize the mainstream media. That's what we do here. We also make commentary, which is not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining us. It's Wednesday, Hump Day. I love that camel spot commercial. We call them spots in the industry. That is a jargon alert. Today is April 10th, the year of our Lord 2024. It is a momentous day, at least in certain circles, specifically inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. Congress is now one step closer to extending the life of a federal government surveillance tool known as Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. A bill to reauthorize FISA, especially Section 702, passed through the House Rules Committee. This happened last night, in fact. The final hurdle for a piece of legislation before it's considered by the entire House. It passed on a 9-2 vote. Section 702 is a provision that allows the federal government to conduct warrantless surveillance on foreign nationals outside the U.S. if they are suspected of ties to terrorism, even if the person on the other end of the communications is an American citizen. National security hawks, members of the intelligence community, have called it a crucial tool for preventing another 9/11 style attack. Critics, including both conservatives and progressives, are seeking to limit its scope after reported instances of abuse to collect data on Americans inside the continental United States. The fight over Section 02's renewal has been among the most bitter that the House Republicans have had to contend with. Speaker Mike Johnson grapples with a razor-thin majority. The current process is the House GOP leaders' third attempt at the tool's renewal before the April 19th deadline. The Reforming Intelligence and Securing American Act, FISA, is a compromise bill. I'm sorry, this is the new bill that seeks to extend it. The Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act is a bill it's a compromise bill between the House Judiciary Committee and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. It's aimed at curbing instances of abuse by instituting safeguards on accessing Section 702 collected data, especially when it involves a U.S. citizen. Under terms agreed upon by the Rules Committee, the House will vote on an amendment backed by the Judiciary Committee to ban warrantless searches of U.S. citizens before voting on the final bill. A GOP lawmaker opposed to the amendment told Fox News Digital this happened last night. That would effectively kill 702 if that passed. Not included in the final bill was an amendment sought by privacy hawks led by Representative Warren Davidson. He's a Republican from Ohio, which would have forced the federal government to seek a warrant before buying United States citizens' data from third-party brokers. Opponents of that provision, mostly from the House Intelligence Committee, complained that it was not relevant to Section 702 and would have bogged down its chances of passing in the Senate. Representative Steve Scalise, the Republican from Louisiana, he is the majority leader in the House, told Fox News earlier last night that Davidson's amendment would be voted on as a standalone bill later. House of Representatives is expected to vote on the Section 702 renewal bill tomorrow, this according to Fox News. Today, administration officials will descend on Capitol Hill for an all-member House briefing on FISA. That is one look at it from Fox News. Here's one from USA Today. A controversial spying law is set to reignite tensions between House Republicans this week as conservative hardliners and members of the intelligence community fight over the scope of how the law should be reformed under a time crunch. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Authority Act, called FISA, is set to expire April 19th, meaning time is running short for Congress to reauthorize the law. The sticking point lies in Section 702, which allows U.S. authorities to surveil communications of foreigners without a warrant. Because those foreigners often contact Americans, their information is also swept up in data collection. As a result, the FBI can conduct searches on American data collected through the law without a warrant. Many conservatives balk at the function and are now relentlessly pushing House Speaker Mike Johnson to reform FISA with a new warrant requirement for authorities to sift through the data. That indeed will happen. There will be an amendment voted on. It's important that that pass, among other things. I'll get to that in a minute. Section 702 has divided House Republicans into two warring factions. The law's harshest critics are being led by the House Judiciary Committee, while the House Intelligence Committee is pushing to preserve the law, arguing it's essential to protect the nation. FISA's conservative antagonists want an amendment that will include a warrant requirement. Opponents of that move say a warrant requirement would effectively neuter the program and threaten national security. Neuter the program. Get rid of it entirely. Don't add a warrant requirement. Get rid of Section 702 completely. In fact, toss the entire FISA law. That's what I believe. Why? Because it's abused. It is abused. It is a tool that will be abused regardless of what kind of warrant requirement or any other kinds of revisions or requirements that are put in this bill. Why is that? Because the nation's law enforcement and Department of Justice have made an irrevocable error. They have set aside the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States of America in search of political advantage. If you abuse a tool, someone who is, shall we say, responsible regarding freedoms and liberties will remove the tool from the inventory used by people who abuse it. And that's what needs to happen right now. It's fascinating to me, by the way, this is just a little aside here. It's fascinating to me that Fox News reports the story as a FISA renewal story. USA Today reports the story as causing a rift among Republicans. That's called news slant. That being said, FISA is a mess. FISA is abused. And FISA must be completely set aside because of that abuse. I watched the Patriot Act being used against county commissioners, county commissions. I've watched it used against regular American citizens for all manner of things. The way they vote, what kind of weapons they own, all manner of other things. I've reported all those stories on this broadcast. The Patriot Act may have been a good idea some 23 years ago, but it was also something that made me very nervous for this exact reason. That being said, America's law enforcement and the Department of Justice has always had laws that could be abused, and indeed some of them were. But we have seen nothing close to the abuse of scale that we have seen on this, the scale of abuse on this law. Republicans say, well, we have to add a warrant requirement. Oh, yeah? The FBI lied to the FISA court to obtain warrants to spy on the Trump campaign. lied. Those warrants were against American citizens. They weren't connected to terrorism. They were connected to politics. Getting back to the irrevocable stain on the DOJ, the FBI, federal law enforcement abusing their opportunity to eavesdrop on Americans without warrants. This is not going to stand. It absolutely isn't. As a matter of fact, there is even more coverage on this. There's a story on Fox News that is essentially quoting a Wall Street Journal article. The headline is "Public Trust in the FBI Has Reached the Red Zone. U.S. inching closer to mayhem, chaos, and anarchy," according to this WSJ columnist. Let me read some of this to you. The United States is battling a crisis of confidence with the U.S. governing institutions on the line, and FBI Director Christopher Wray's recent testimony before Congress may have been the last straw for the Bureau, according to Wall Street Journal columnist Dan Henninger. In a Wall Street Journal column titled "The FBI Loses the Public," Henninger examined the public's diminishing trust in institutions like the FBI as studies show voter confidence in the Bureau and the DOJ has hit rock bottom. An NBC poll cited in the column found the public's positive view of the Bureau has tanked by 15% in the last 5 years. The poll came days before Wray's contentious hearing before Congress amid calls for his resignation from GOP lawmakers over his leadership of the Bureau. Conservatives no longer trust the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Liberals, or more precisely progressives, no longer trust the local police. We have a problem, said Henninger. Yeah, we do. And why did that problem happen? Because politicians in federal law enforcement and just plain nutcase crazy people at local police levels, not many, but some, in both cases, decided to abuse their power. The United States of America is founded on freedom and liberty. We are very careful to preserve freedom and liberty, even among those people that perhaps deserve it the least. Indeed. In previous years, not so much now, but in previous years, well, I can't say that because, it happens now too. There would be trials that were canceled, charges that would be thrown out in an effort to preserve freedom and liberty, rather than make a mistake to destroy it. That all went out the window when the DOJ and the FBI became political action committees. And that is exactly what has happened. As I said about the Patriot Act, we handed out a whole lot of power to supposedly keep us safe. And it may have worked. Have we seen any large-scale terror attacks in these United States? No, we haven't. As a matter of fact, there was a terror plot that was just foiled, and it was announced yesterday. More about that coming up later. So arguably, the Patriot Act has worked. However, it is also destroyed the public confidence in the FBI and the DOJ because it's abused. It's a simple case of the matter. And that must stop. I don't believe in Henninger's apocalyptic anarchy and chaos and mayhem, although there certainly is mayhem. About to report that to you here in just a few minutes. But as we come to this conversation, the conversation is whether or not we extend the FISA Act, specifically Section 702. It is due to expire April 19th. I call on the government of the United States to set this law aside in favor of a reconstructed law that actually honors the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. But all that went out the window as soon as the FBI decided to lie in front of the judges of the FISA court. What a tragedy. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service, giving you the news, analysis, commentary, and debate. We were just talking about renewal of the Section 702 FISA Act, the FISA Act itself, and Section 702. And I said that, first of all, it should be set aside. It should not be renewed. And second, I said that arguably the Patriot Act and Section 702, the FISA Act, is part of that, has worked. And here's another example of it working. An 18-year-old from Idaho was arrested over the weekend, accused of plotting to kill churchgoers in his town in the name of ISIS. This, according to court documents released on Monday. Alexander Mercurio was charged in a criminal complaint with providing material support to a foreign terrorist organization. He remains in custody, has not entered a plea, according to court records. Investigators allege that Mercurio was about to attack at least one church in his area April 7th, a Sunday, with guns, knives, flammable chemicals, but said they foiled his plans before he could carry out that attack. Mercurio is accused of writing to an unnamed FBI source that he was set to stop close by the church, equip the weapons, storm the temple, killing as many people as possible. His goal, according to investigators, was to carry out an act of martyrdom before the end of Ramadan, the holy month observed peacefully by Islamic practitioners across the globe that emphasizes prayer and fasting, and then pledge his allegiance to the leader of ISIS. Quote, I'm going to perform a martyrdom operation very soon, unquote. The targets will be the various churches in my town. In the newly released court documents, prosecutors described an evolution of beliefs beginning in 2022, when messages and posts allegedly revealed the teenager's interests in ISIS and his parents' apparent dissatisfaction with his religious beliefs. He stored media on his electronic devices, including a jihadi chant, according to investigators, and posted pro-ISIS material online. Court documents reveal Mercurio also allegedly told members of a terror-affiliated group that he had previously been in contact with an individual who was later arrested for providing financial support to ISIS. Earlier this year, he met at various points with a confidential FBI source and reiterated his desire to die a martyr. In meetings and via online messaging, Mercurio was allegedly revealed, that he planned to, quote, donate every last cent in my bank to the state, that's ISIS, and wanted to film a video message in support of the attack and ISIS before he carried it out. So, arguably, the Patriot Act, the FISA Act worked, although this looks more like old-fashioned police work to me. But that being said, this attack was foiled. Now, on this same topic, there was a moment in Dearborn, Michigan, where a terrorist speaking before a small group of people decided that death to America should be the issue of the day. And he said so and made it quite plain that he was very serious that be carried out. This is his name. And let me see if I can get his name. Takek Bazi. Fox News is reporting something interesting. As soon as that happened, the Dearborn mayor and the White House condemned those chants and condemned the speaker, et cetera, et cetera. But there were notable people missing, specifically Rashida Tlaib, the representative from Michigan, and Governor Gretchen Whitmer. They've remained totally silent on this. Where's Ilhan Omar? Where are the rest of the members of the squad? Where are they? How come they're not speaking? I think that's Tarek Bazi, by the way, not Takek. I think it's Tarek. So where are they? How come they haven't decried this? Now, you can't make any kind of assertions, but you cannot escape the idea that they're not saying anything because at some level they agree with the chant. I'm not accusing them of that, but I am pointing it out that anybody would think about that and say, that seems to be quite interesting. I wonder if they are going to break their silence and actually say something. We'll see. This is the Wells Report.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Dexter Reed lived in Chicago. He apparently was a part of a fine family, and he wanted to head out and enjoy his brand new SUV. So he said, "Mama, I'm going out for a ride." That ride ended up with a traffic stop, ostensibly because Dexter wasn't wearing his seatbelt. It ended with a fusillade of shots being fired by several Chicago police officers. According to the story, the reporting of this story, those officers fired nearly 100 rounds in less than a minute. This, according to the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, called COPA, the city police's watchdog agency. I have video of this. This is body cam video of what is the entire affair. It is distressing. If you happen to be watching on your computer, you might want to turn away if you are squeamish about such things. But this is the video that is currently being talked about in Chicago right now, and I'll bring it to you here on the Wells Report.
March 21st, 2024. Chicago police are initiating a traffic stop on a driver reportedly for not wearing a seatbelt, according to the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. A traffic stop being conducted by 5 tactical officers.
Roll the window down. What are you doing?
Roll this one down.
Roll that one down too. Hey, don't roll the window up. Don't roll the window up.
Okay.
Do not roll the window up. Unlock the doors now.
The temperature quickly escalates. One officer puts what appears to be his gun on the windshield. Reed then fires first, hitting an officer in the forearm, according to the initial investigation. Then, chaos.
Hey! Hey, St. Louis, good! Shots fired! Shots fired! Pick it up!
Reed goes down. Then, 3 final gunshots, 96 in total, according to investigators. The gun was later recovered from the front seat of Reed's car.
Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Now, what needs to be brought up, and brought up immediately in this, is that Dexter Reed fired the first shot, if not shots. Officers said they pulled Reed over for not wearing a seatbelt, a contention that COPA questions amid rising tension in recent weeks over the killing and officers' use of deadly force. They released the footage of the shooting yesterday. Police Accountability Board said Reed appears to have fired first. Attorneys for the family said a deeper investigation needs to happen. They have also said that the traffic stop was unconstitutional, and not the first time Chicago cops have falsely claimed seatbelt violations as the impetus for confrontational pullovers of drivers. Last but certainly not least, they alleged yesterday that Reed was killed while unarmed and trying to surrender. That is what we know now. We will know more soon. Joining us is a New York police officer, a dear friend of mine. He is Gary Olivier. Gary, welcome back to the Wells Report. Good to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So when you read the story on this, what went through your mind?
Well, this is going to be a little lengthy. And like you, I look at things objectively, and I'm not, jumping on sides for anything, be it political or police stuff. But this obviously they must have been, following this person for something particular. If it was a tactical squad like that, tactical unit. The seatbelt violations, vehicle violations, we use those, to have reasonable cause to pull people over. There could be a confidential informant involved in it saying, "Hey, he's holding an illegal handgun," or he's got drugs in the car, or she's got whatever. So, until you could actually get a warrant or whatever, and you take these informations, and if you have a reason to stop the person, a legal reason like a vehicle violation, you stop them, and see what can possibly pop. So the stop is legal. If it did, in fact, he did have a seatbelt coming. But obviously, it sounds to me like, this guy was being worked for something. And that'll probably come out in the end.
Yeah. So obviously you don't have tactical officers doing traffic patrols. That's obviously not something. And this particular tactic has been used before. Brian Koberger, for example, was pulled over because of FBI interest in him. They wanted to pull him over and get a look at his hands. This was after the alleged Idaho murders, the Idaho college murders. And they pulled him over under those exact same circumstances, although I think it was speeding that they used. So this is something that has been done several times. Now, what I'm trying to find out here is the escalation. Now, obviously, this Dexter had his face covered, at least partially. He refused to follow police directions. Apparently, he fired the first shot. Under those circumstances, what are police officers supposed to do? Are they supposed to stand back and keep trying to talk the guy out of the car?
No, once you're met with once you're met with a situation like that, the person they're not trying to scare you. They're trying to kill you or whatever. So you respond with deadly physical force. Hopefully just to incapacitate the person and not kill them. We're taught to shoot to stop, not, shoot to kill. We're taught to stop people, from continuing the act. So the initial response, absolutely. I mean, they were right. I would have done the same thing had somebody just threw around at me. The other part of this, which led to the escalation, is this person refusing to do what the police officer said. You know what? If you're not dirty, as they say, or you're not holding, or you're not doing something illegal, you comply and just get it over with.
Well, even if you are doing something illegal, you better comply.
Absolutely. And the whole thing that exacerbates all this stuff is since 2009 in this country, the war on law enforcement and the war on law enforcement, the war on police, and don't comply, resist. And this is what's getting people into these situations. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other factors. I'm not one, and you know me, John, I'm not one to, turn around and say, oh, it's his fault, he did this, it's his, that problem solved. That's not how life works. But these things exacerbate all of these situations.
Raises the temperature.
When you see stuff like that.
It raises the temperature between the citizenry and the police force on both sides.
Absolutely. I got, Gary the cop pulls up and says, I'd like to see your license or registration. You start arguing with me, or, and I had people do this to me. Like I said, it started happening in earnest after 2009, the 2009 election. Cracking the window down an inch. Well, how do I know you're? But okay, I'm in a marked unit. I'm in the middle of town here. You can see there's 1,000 people around. Stop being a jerk. Just give me your damn stuff, and 99.9, I'm going to give you a warning. That's it. But it's all the F the police and all the other stuff that has been pushed down from politicians. And you don't have to do this. You don't have to comply, and all the other crap. That escalates these situations. Not that not that this may not have happened either way, but that's exactly where a lot of this comes from.
Yeah, and when you start talking about that, you start talking about the general belief in the police that has eroded over the years, mainly because of what I consider to be pretty serious malpractice by Americans politicians. I mean, the politicians on this, definitely dividing the populace in a way to put the police on the very most dangerous position they've ever been in since I've been around.
Oh, absolutely. And when I moved down here, interacting with law enforcement agencies and stuff. Hey, do you want to? Don't even ask me. There's not enough whiskey in Ireland to make me put that uniform back on.
Yeah.
And God bless you folks for what you're doing. I give you a lot of credit. It's just and that's exactly where all this comes from. And I mean, these vote whores, that's what I call them, and they're vote whores, and they're on both sides of the aisle. They do this to just get votes. And I mean, what about the cop? What about the cop's family? What about a person who maybe gets in a situation, maybe met with deadly physical force, and is not a criminal? What about their families? What about the victims? We're forgetting all about victims here. And people say, "Oh, you got all these police shootings and everything else, and all this, police abuse. All this police abuse. on the average, now these are little older statistics, there's 150,000 police versus citizen reaction per day, I believe, in the country. 150,000 of all types, or maybe even a little more. So if there was a problem with police abuse and police overreacting, don't you think that there would be a lot more of these shootings and stuff like that? And then when these political people and these clowns sit back and say, well, I would have done this. So my answer is, and I think I told you this, I had a person I used to work with who was shooting his mouth off about, one of these shootings, and cops were totally right. I said, I'll tell you what you do, big mouth. I said, I want you to go down to the PD and say, I want to do a civilian ride-along. I want to be in your busiest precinct on the busiest nights where you get the most violent crimes, and do it for one day a week for a month. And then you come back and you tell me what you would have done. That's the big thing. You have all these people that are second-guessing and everything else. And fortunately, I never had to shoot. I've had pressure on the trigger a couple times. I'm glad I didn't have to. And you can't sit and judge these things until you're in that position. Now, the 97 shots, okay, I wasn't there. That's a little bit prickly, but police across the country, our country, are taught you shoot until you feel the threat has stopped. So I'm sure that was in there.
Right.
And once again, this all could have been avoided. No problem, officer. What do you need from me? Boom. Hey, you know what? And if the officer was wrong or if they violated your rights, that's what courts are for. That's
Exactly.
what courts are for.
There is a Wall Street Journal columnist, Dan Henninger, who has said that the United States is battling a crisis of confidence with U.S. governing institutions, specifically the FBI, and indeed some local police departments. And certainly there is a crisis of confidence. But when you start thinking about it, he cites a poll from NBC that says that belief and trust in the FBI has diminished 15% over the last few years, about the same time frame you referenced, since 2009. Talk to me a little bit about that. Is there any way back for the FBI?
It's tough, especially, and not coming from a federal agency and not being on the inside looking out. I could only speculate and just go by what I have seen. Is there a way to come back from it? Yeah, there is. But the clowns, and I do mean clowns on both sides of the aisle, really need to stop just going after each other and playing these damn ass games, and getting back to doing what's doing for the people and trying to get that done, instead of just fighting with each other and dragging each other in for hearings and raiding people's houses and all this other crap. So that's got to stop up on the government level. And that goes all the way down to local government too, because it happens down there too. So yeah, there is a way back. It's going to take a long time, and I don't know anybody, either where these people stand politically, and we'll say the two major parties, that has a lot of faith in any of these federal agencies.
It's getting
law
there.
Enforcement agencies.
It's getting there. Gary Olivier is a former New York police officer. He's a former New York detective, not New York City, Westchester County. And sir, Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for your perspective.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Gary Olivier joining us here on the Wells Report. And so there is a crisis here, and we are seeing it played out on both sides. I think one of the most important things that Gary just said and talked about was the raising of the temperature, both on the part of the citizenry and on the part of the police officers themselves. People expect police officers to be these automatons that just go about their duties without fear, without anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. That's not real. And the best thing you can do when you're confronted with a police officer is everything he tells you or she tells you to do. And don't make sudden moves, and keep your hands plainly visible. This is a tragedy, but is it a self-inflicted tragedy on the part of Dexter Reed? Time will tell. That's what, as Gary just said, that's what trials are for, and we'll find out. This is the Wells Report for Wednesday. This is the 10th day of April. We'll be back with more coming up in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. The USA Today newspaper is reporting on how Special Counsel Jack Smith has filed a brief before the Supreme Court of the United States, and that is asking the Supreme Court to set aside the concept of presidential immunity. Now, that being said, USA Today has reported it as follows. You know, we point out bias. No president before Donald Trump has suggested the Constitution grants him criminal immunity, and the Supreme Court shouldn't now find that it does, according to Special Counsel Jack Smith. That is not just biased, it's wrong. Richard Nixon did the exact same thing. He talked about presidential immunity and indeed was turned aside by the court system and by public opinion. That being said, that was a completely different kettle of fish. At that time, the people of the United States did not believe, in terms of well over 2/3 polled, that President Nixon was the victim of a political witch hunt. That is not the case with Donald Trump. That being said, the story continues laying out his argument in a landmark case being argued this month. Smith, in a legal brief to the Supreme Court, said granting Trump criminal immunity would be a radical legal precedent. Would be no such thing. That's just my opinion. That it's not a radical legal precedent. It is a practical nod to the reality of being a president. We have seen with President Trump that if indeed you are a big enough political threat, politicians spanning the country at every level, state, county, indeed local, all these DAs will file lawsuits and charges against you. Presidents can't operate that way. There are some other things about this, another predicate that I want to talk about here coming up in just a couple of minutes. Citing examples from history that brought the U.S. to the edge of a constitutional crisis, Smith pointed out in his brief that President Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon precisely because he otherwise faced prosecution. That wasn't necessarily the case. There was no moving forward to prosecute Richard Nixon, although his attorney general was prosecuted and tossed into the pokey. Most people believed that the President Nixon, resigning in disgrace was punishment enough. However, Special Counsel Jack Smith argues that investigating the Iran-Contra affair considered what President Ronald Reagan's actions, he considered, let me say this again. Likewise, he argued the special counsel that investigated the Iran-Contra affair considered whether President Ronald Reagan's actions were criminal. The absence of any such absolute immunity claim throughout our history weighs heavily against its novel recognition now, said Smith in the brief. That's not flying. The legal filing comes ahead of the court's April 25th oral arguments in Trump's appeal of a decision that he is not immune from prosecution. So here's the thing about this. It is novel insofar as nobody has gone after a president like this, ever. Nobody has. And so this is new ground. There's also been a lively discussion regarding presidential immunity that has spanned decades. And also harbinges a future where the President of the United States, the executive branch of the nation, can be almost irreparably damaged by making the wrong decision. Let me explain what I'm talking about here. So presidential immunity is something that protects a president from exactly what we're seeing arrayed against President Trump. Everybody in the world going after him under supposed criminal charges on imagined and novel ways, speaking of novel ways to enforce law. Many of the laws that supposedly President Trump has broken have never been used this way, ever. But they have been redefined and twisted in a way for what can only be, in my view, a political outcome. Now, there is a report on this. I want to bring it to you, in fact. This is a report regarding this very subject, and let's bring that to you now here on the Wells Report. Watch this.
Jack Smith really, in a way, has a decision. Do you challenge the concept of presidential immunity? Do you say it never exists? Or do you really focus on the facts and say, under these facts, what this president did, there should be no immunity? In my view, the stronger case is the second one, because it's dangerous to argue that there is zero presidential immunity after a president leaves office. The simplest example is virtually every president has been involved in some form of military activity, and zero presidents have ever been charged with deaths that occur, whether it be service folks or innocents who are injured or killed in military actions, because it's kind of assumed that presidents have to make those tough decisions and they're not liable for crimes after they leave office for that kind of presidential conduct. So no court has ever come out and really said that explicitly. The challenge here is really determining whether what Trump did under these facts, is he entitled to immunity? And secondly, is that immunity determined before he even goes to trial?
All right, that's a great report and a great analysis by the NBC legal analyst. And that is the question that we're going to answer. Is there presidential immunity? I believe there should be. What are the limits of presidential immunity? Well, I believe that they should cover the presidents when they are in office. And that does not mean that once they're out of office, they're in a position where they can be prosecuted for something that happened in office. The harsh critic of all presidents is history. Their legacy would be stained forever if they committed an actual high crime or misdemeanor. The prescription for this by the framers is impeachment. More about this story coming up. This is the Wells Report. Hour 2 is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine. We differentiate between news and opinion on this broadcast, as, in my view, should be the case for every news broadcast. That is not the case as we come to this part of American history. We also invite you to say what you believe about the news, the issues, and yes, opinions that are brought up on this broadcast. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. That's what the Wells Report is all about. The Biden administration's brand new State Department diversity chief has called America a failed historic model and demands the destruction of tradition at every juncture on the altar of anti-racism. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced last week the appointment of Zakiya Carr-Johnson as their Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Blinken touted Carr-Johnson for bringing, quote, expertise and a fresh perspective on how we rebuild a workforce that reflects America. Carr-Johnson previously served as then-President Barack Obama's senior advisor and director of the first Race, Ethnicity, and Social Inclusion Unit at the State Department. Blinken also noted her experience since leaving the Obama State Department, quote, her previous work promoting entrepreneurship and access to opportunity for underrepresented populations, as well as her commitment to inclusive leadership, make us stronger, smarter, and more innovative, unquote. Carr-Johnson's experience consists of owning two relatively obscure companies, Odara Solutions, a DEI consulting firm, and Black Women Disrupt, an initiative in which Carr-Johnson interviewed Black women involved in creative spaces around the world. Its YouTube channel had 125 subscribers. Carr-Johnson embraces a feminist leadership style. Indeed, her history is full of the feminist ideology that she has brought forward and has thus morphed into DEI, but one that counters white-centered feminism trends and narratives. That's also what she believes in. She said in a feminist webinar in August of 2020, quote, because we live and work within systems so deeply rooted in patriarchy and colonialism and racism and otherism, we tend to be very resistant to shifts and changes. It's very uncomfortable for many colleagues, a culture of misogyny that has allowed men to act without consequence, and it becomes part of what we believe is normal, right? In order to make any changes, we've literally got to be about the work of dismantling that traditional structure at every juncture. Carr-Johnson had previously said, as part of the group Fair Share for Women's Leaders, that she believes America is a failed historic model with a colonizing past in a since deleted article from October of 2019. Quote, there are chinks in the armor of traditional leadership that refuse to reconcile with a colonizing past or recognizing that a time has run out for experimentation and tweaking of a failed historic model. We understand that a cultural shift is on the horizon, and in order to save us all, we must be prepared to change. Quote, Feminist leadership requires challenging the structures we believe hold power. I am determined to contribute to this effort. This commitment is not merely about representation in seats and slots, but how we leverage that space to make lasting change. We cannot have equity without dismantling structural racism, patriarchy, and heterosexism. It all starts with movements that compel us to ask uncomfortable questions. What does inclusion mean, for example, if white supremacy remains intact? She went on to say, therefore, it is my belief that despite tension and discomfort that may come from questioning the way things have always been, we must critically explore privilege, power, and process to chart new ways forward. Carr Johnson co-authored a Fair Share Toolkit guide entitled, quote, Feminist Leaders for Feminist Goals, unquote. According to the guide, redistributing power requires feminist leadership to redress a culture of male and or white dominance. Feminist leadership must change power structures in order to achieve transformative change. We must analyze the question existing power structures and how they affect decision-making. How can we redefine value, use, share, and distribute power differently? The guide asked. The guide also raised topics related to critical race theory called intersectionality. Feminist leadership must be intersectional, understanding and addressing intersecting identities, needs, and resulting inequalities, both within our own structures and in our work, is the basis of ensuring representation, inclusion, and diversity. How can we dismantle structural inequalities, and what are the potential ways forward to address them? In March of 2018, Carr Johnson herself championed the critical race theory ideology. Quote, I learned to demand intersectionality in all spaces, she said in a video posted to her Facebook page. In another Facebook post, Carr Johnson's Odara Solutions complained that female-directed diversity initiatives allow too many white women to advance, purportedly, quote, at the expense of women of color, unquote. The idea was reiterated in a June 2020 letter Carr Johnson signed with Fair Share, which outlined a series of anti-racist commitments. Quote, we strongly believe that feminist leadership must be anti-racist in order to transform our societies. Today, we call for long-term transformation. We will do our part to uplift and amplify feminist leaders of color, counter white-centered feminism trends and narratives, and share Black and brown feminist wisdom and recommendations. Carr Johnson also made a 2021 appearance to promote her Black Women Disruptors project on Mark Lamont Hill's show. She was, Hill, by the way, was fired in 2018 for using a chant associated with calling for the elimination of Israel from the river to the sea. In November, the now Al Jazeera host complained about the media framing of Hamas as a terrorist organization. Fox News contacted the State Department for comment. They have yet to receive a reply. And so there are so many things to unpack here. It starts at the very beginning of the article that says that the U.S. is a failed historic model. That comes from Zakia Carr Johnson. She is the new Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer of the State Department. Okay. What about the let's see, what is it here? The model, the historic model of America is a failure. What part of it is? Were there mistakes made? Sure. But that focuses on the mistakes, not the resolutions of those mistakes. America is a self-correcting mechanism based on the very things that make this country great. Hardly a failed historic model, in my view. This not only talks about America, it talks about the Western civilization. The Western civilization, the achievements of that speak for itself. What I find to be absolutely fascinating in this is what has turned from an idea that everyone in America should have a voice into every American should have a voice, but Americans don't. That's not true, especially now. Especially now. In this particular article, and used by Ms. Carr Johnson, are social media outlets, etc., all over the place, where her words, her ideologies, her belief systems are heard not just in America, but around the world. What's she talking about? To me, what we have here is we have a couple of redefinitions of words and terms. For example, diversity and inclusion. I believe that that is a twisted ideology that essentially justifies racism against whites. And that's what we've seen. That's what we've seen. I also believe that intersectionality, I believe that's the new thing for CRT. Yeah, intersectionality. As we change the terms to be able to forward the agenda without having to deal with the messy realities of that agenda. And this person now works in the State Department. What is she going to be doing? Well, going back to the article, what is happening is that she has been appointed to shall we say, let's see, bringing expertise and fresh perspectives on how we build a workforce that reflects America. We do have a workforce that reflects America. We do, both in percentage and practice. In fact, America has worked to provide equal opportunity for everyone, up to and including setting aside some members of society to benefit other members of society. It seems to me that Ms. Carr Johnson, is refusing to take yes for an answer. She's doing so in a way to forward her ideas that the wrong people are running the country. Now, in that we agree. But we don't agree that it has anything to do with race. We don't agree that it has anything to do with race. We don't believe that it has anything to do with patriarchy, of the idea that the fathers of the nation do indeed dictate terms to females, etc. That's not the case. America is a representative democracy. More women take part in the government than have ever taken part in this government ever before. Same thing with various races. And what is that based on? That's based on the choices of the voters. If indeed you want to hold high public office, if indeed you want to break through the glass ceiling, there is one sure way of making that happen here in the United States. Merit. If you stand before the voters of your particular district, town, county, state, and come up with a better idea for the furtherance of any of those parts of American society, you will win. Likewise, in the corporate world, if you are able to focus on the actual corporation, the product therein, and all of the things that you do to make that better, you will succeed. Is there unfairness? Yes. Yes. But there is nothing more unfair than imposed fairness. It takes merit. It takes rising to the level of your capabilities. It takes rising to the level of your ideas regarding what you do and sticking with it and working through it, and know that regardless of how many people give you how much power, et cetera, the people that you are serving have to buy in. I find it fascinating that Zakiya Carr Johnson has been appointed. I wonder how she would fare if she brought all of this to, say, for example, well, I don't know, a congressional race. How would she do? I think what really got me more than anything on this is the idea that America is a failed historic model. A failed historic model? That failed historic model has outperformed the rest of the world demonstrably for certainly over a century, if not 2 centuries. What's she talking about? The answer is, I simply don't know. I don't know. But you cannot impose fairness. You can't. You have to earn it. You have to earn it. You can't impose it on the public. The public has to decide that that is what they want. I dare say that that is not what's happening. Diversity, inclusion, etc., is turning into justified white racism, anti-white racism. That's what I see. How about you? Telephone number 817-379-2172. This is the Wells Report. We continue next.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Gary said, I love all these made-up words that describe something that doesn't exist. Binary, gender fluid. We just talked about it with Zakiya Carr-Johnson changing critical race theory into intersectionality. Well, there's another one that we have to keep in mind that just got minted today, as far as I know, on the pages of USA Today. You want to know what it is? Cicada-geddon. Cicada-geddon 2024. For the first time since 1803, more than 1 trillion cicadas from 2 major broods will emerge from their underground dormancy in mid-May and collectively create a loud, high-pitched buzz that will assault your ears for weeks. In a rare overlap of emergence, cicadas arise from the underground is caused by 2 specific sets of cicadas. The largest, known as brood 14, appears every 13 years. Why wouldn't it be brood 13? Brood 8 emerges every 17 years. Well, they've intersected. For Cicada-geddon 2024. So, let's talk a little bit about Cicada-geddon. That's the article, and this is what they look like. They're giant flies, actually. Unlike greenish annual cicadas, periodical cicadas are known for their black bodies, clear wings, and bold red eyes. They breathe through 10 pairs of respiratory openings called spiracles, 2 on the thorax, 8 on the abdomen. Their antennae are short and bristly. There you have it. Yeah. Let's see. How do cicadas make their distinctive noise? Cicadas are among the world's loudest insects, according to scientists. Male cicadas will occasionally synchronize their songs in a massive chorus, a loud, deep humming in the trees to draw the attention of females. Which, by the way, seems just a little bit odd. If you're singing the same song as every other guy, oh, why would a female come and visit you? You got to march to your own drummer, I guess. Male cicadas have 2 special vibrating membranes called tymbals that sit behind each wings on either side of their abdomens, right? So let's see, only males sing. Female cicadas don't have sound-producing organs. Is that why male cicadas are so happy? I can't believe I said that. Anyway, the ribs flex simultaneously. Cicadas flex their tymbals, producing a pulsating sound. The abdomen is hollow, so the cicada can resonate and intensify the sound. The 2 rib membranes at the base of the abdomen are called tymbals, etc., etc. They can move 300 to 400 times a second and create that sound. You want to know what that sounds like? Well, here you go. Cicadas. By the way, that noise can be as loud as 100 decibels. That's almost as loud as an airliner, and can in some cases be as loud as, I don't know, a Black Crowes concert. When will they come out? Both huge broods will emerge from mid-May to late June, depending on location and weather. If the weather is consistently warm and dry, the cicadas will finish mating sooner rather than later, which would mean a short season. It's sort of like the cicada version of Groundhog Day, right? Typically, their lifespan is 4 to 6 weeks. They'll start to die off in June. So now you know. But what really bugs me about the whole thing is Cicada-geddon 2024. They're going to make a movie about it. In a world where insects rule the roost, Cicada-geddon 2024 rewrites the annals of human evolution and life. Coming to a theater near you. This movie has been rated I for irritating. That being said, now you know, Cicada-geddon 2024. Is that something that now is going to cross the entire American media landscape? God, I hope not. This is the Wells Report. We continue as we continue. I don't know why I said that either. Back with more in a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. By the way, if you find value in this broadcast, by all means, please share it with your friends. Ask them to subscribe. And oh, by the way, please do subscribe. Hit the notification button so you know when we're on the air. It'll ring a little bell. And we do special reports from time to time. I don't want you to miss. Otherwise, I won't be doing the special reports. I wouldn't be doing the special reports if it's not something I didn't think you ought to actually hear or see. Also, by the way, give us those thumbs ups. Those are really critical. And if you would like to support the show financially, please do so. Go to patreon.com/The Wells Report. patreon.com/The Wells Report, common spelling. And it would help us out immeasurably, a couple of bucks a month. That's all it takes. Half of a Starbucks brew. It would be very nice. I would appreciate it. We spend a lot of time dealing with the media on this broadcast because you're not getting fair reporting. We try to do something about that on this broadcast, not because I'm forced to or coerced to, but because I believe it's the right thing to do. I've been doing it since 9/11, 2001, because I believe that we need to have real news. And that's what we attempt on this broadcast with varying degrees of success. The National Public Radio Agency is one that is run by the United States government. It is theoretically supposed to speak to all Americans. According to an NPR editor who is now blowing the whistle, that is not happening. Indeed, Fox News reports it as follows. An NPR editor blowing the whistle on the left-leaning outlet's biased coverage says voter registration records show an astonishing disparity between Democrats and Republicans in the NPR newsroom, 87-0. NPR senior business editor Uri Berliner penned a thorough rebuke of his own outlet for the Free Press published yesterday, criticizing it for telling listeners and readers how to think through a progressive worldview. He pointed in particular to its flawed coverage of the Hunter Biden laptop, Russiagate, and the COVID lab leak theory. He also claimed NPR leadership's reaction to the George Floyd killing in 2020 was to declare systemic racism was a given, and, quote, our mission was to change it, unquote. That is not what journalism is about. Journalism is about informing, not changing. Informing, not changing. Certainly, you can put your opinion out there as long as you differentiate that between the news and what you think about the news, which is what we do here. But NPR doing it, completely out of place. Completely out of place. That, by the way, is just my opinion. So Berliner said the lack of viewpoint diversity had spilled over into how NPR covered such topics as the Israel-Gaza war and avoided terms like biological sex in its reporting. He said he looked up voter registrations for the NPR newsroom in 2021, found the city's headquarters of Washington, D.C., featured 87 registered Republicans in NPR editorial positions and 0 Republicans. He then said this, quote, so on May 3rd, 2021, I presented the findings at an all-hands editorial staff meeting when I suggested we had a diversity problem with a score of 87 Democrats to 0 Republicans. The response wasn't hostile. It was worse. It was met with profound indifference. I got a few messages from surprised, curious colleagues, but the messages were of the, oh, wow, that's weird variety, as if the lopsided tally was a random anomaly rather than a critical failure of our diversity North Star. This, by the way, points to the hypocrisy in the mainstream media, and in this case, the public media. It's hypocrisy. It's not that biased reporting is bad. It's that biased reporting, when your bias is focused on the correct people, is an essential part of reporting in these United States. Bogus. Absolutely bogus. It's unbelievable. The story goes on to say, in a follow-up email exchange, a top NPR news executive told me that she had been skewered for bringing up diversity of thought when she arrived at NPR. So she said, quote, I want to be careful how we discuss this publicly, unquote. Such is the nature of fascism, isn't it? Be careful what you say. You might attract the attention of somebody who wants to change things. Let's see. She went on to say, Berliner went on to say, who's been at NPR for 25 years, eagerly voted against Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020, but wrote he found NPR's advocacy-style coverage of the presidency wrong-headed. He said he'd had regular conversations with new leaders about the homogeneous political culture to no avail. Quote, throughout these exchanges, no one ever trashed me. That's not the NPR way. People are polite, but nothing changes. So I become a visible wrong thinker at a place I love. It's uncomfortable and sometimes heartbreaking. As for comment about the numbers claimed by Berliner, an NPR spokesperson told Fox News the organization had nearly 1,200 full-time and temporary employees and wasn't sure where Berliner had gotten his numbers on the newsroom's voter registration. The public voter registration rolls. That's where you find them. Berliner noted that polling of NPR's audience had become significantly less diverse over the years as well, going from slightly left-leaning overall in 2011 to overwhelmingly left-leaning by 2023. Quote, only 11% describe themselves as very or somewhat conservative, 21% as middle of the road, and 67% of listeners say they were somewhat or very liberal. An open-minded spirit no longer exists within NPR, and now predictably we don't have an audience that reflects America. That wouldn't be a problem for an openly polemic news outlet serving a niche audience. But for NPR, which purports to consider all things, indeed, one of their broadcasts is called All Things Considered. It's a devastating path for both its journalism and business model. In his essay, Berliner was particularly critical of how NPR embraced the Russiagate conspiracy narrative, saying it frequently used Representative Adam Schiff, the Democrat from California, for interviews and followed his lead about the story. The Schiff talking points became the drumbeat of NPR news reports. When the story fizzled after the Robert Mueller investigation found no evidence to prove a conspiracy between Donald Trump and Russia to fix the 2016 election, Berliner admitted NPR's coverage was notably sparse. Reach for comment, an NPR spokesperson directed Fox News to a memo to staff by editor-in-chief Edith Chapin, where she said that she and her team strongly disagree with Berliner's assessment of the quality of NPR's journalism and integrity. Well, that gets back to the people of the United States. They get to decide. They get to decide. And if indeed these statistics are to be believed, the American people have decided that NPR is a very left-leaning news outfit. Should that be the case? Should that be the case for public media in the United States? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Should NPR be just another left-wing voice in American media? Or should NPR be equal? Should they indeed present both sides of the story? It's not hard. It's not hard. I do it every day. I bring up both sides. I differentiate between news over here, where I talk about all sides of the story, and what I think about it over here. I know they have more than one camera at NPR. I know they could do the same thing. I know that they have facilities that would say at the bottom of the screen, commentary, editorial, viewpoint. Do they do that? Not that I've seen. There is someone you know who has indeed suffered this bias firsthand. He is a liberal voice on Fox News. He is Juan Williams. Juan Williams made it abundantly clear what he thinks about this particular piece. It was brilliant. It was on Laura Ingram's show last night, and I think you should see it. So take a look at Juan Williams.
Jason Chaffetz, former Utah congressman and Fox News contributor. Juan, you got your own taste, which you talked about on this network, of NPR's brand of tolerance in 2010 when they fired you, and then they admitted it was poorly handled. I love that. Does this editor, I know you know him, does this surprise you?
Well, look, not only did they fire me, they called me a psycho. I mean, they said horrible things about me quite publicly. So no, it doesn't surprise me what he had to say. In fact, I think, and this, of course, was before Trump, Laura. So they are very much an insulated cadre of people who think they're right. And they have a hard time with people who are different. So even for me, and I don't think I'm any wild-eyed conservative, but they thought I was too conservative a black guy for their kind of company. And, so I said something, way back about, gee, after 9/11, I got nervous in the airport with people dressed in Muslim garb, and I went on to defend the right of Muslims to have to build property near Ground Zero, and yet they threw me out the door. So this doesn't surprise me at all. I think what you're seeing now, especially after Trump, is that we live in a very polarized media landscape, and they have established a beachhead on the far left. And you've seen this in terms of the audience. Uri Berliner mentions in his piece that now the audience is disproportionately liberal, more heavily than ever, and you see fewer conservatives tuning in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not right. That's not the right thing. NPR, National Public Broadcasting, represents everybody. It must represent everybody. It must represent all sides. Like I said, it's not tough, but it does start in the editorial offices of any news organization. The objective is to not be right. The objective of editors in any journalistic endeavor is to be fair. Present both sides of the story. Don't allow your particular biases to enter into your editorial decision making. Like I said, it's not hard. It's not hard. And by the way, what is the solution? You know about me, I'm about truth and solutions, right? The solution is for NPR to more closely follow the C-SPAN model. C-SPAN does a very good job of presenting both sides. They truly do. They have news. They have telephone numbers. They actually say, "What do you think?" And they have Republican lines, and they have Democrat lines, and they have independent lines, and they go to all three very fairly. That's what NPR should be doing. But as I've often said, politics poisons everything. It poisons everything. And when you are this insulated cadre of people who believe they're right, as Juan Williams brilliantly said regarding the NPR editorial staff, then what you're doing is not journalism. It's not even public information. It's egging on the propagandist mainstream media. It's becoming a participant in it. And Berliner says in his essay, he says, that's okay if you're a niche, small broadcaster that broadcasts to a limited audience. MSNBC immediately springs to mind. I don't believe that MSNBC should go anywhere. I believe that what they should do is continue doing what they think is the right thing to do. Do I agree with it? No, it's unwatchable as far as I'm concerned. But then again, I'm a journalist. I'm not somebody who says, no, they're trying to change things. No. That's not what they're supposed to be doing. But they have a small audience for a reason, because there are only a few people that agree with them. And so now what we have is this NPR, National Public Radio, which has morphed into a television network, etc. Very much like the Wells Report has. I basically have set this up as a television show from almost a half century in radio. And so, actually, it has been a half century in radio. Good God. Anyway, that being said, what we have to have, especially when public funding is nourishing this organization, is we need to have a public function of that organization. It is absolutely essential that every viewpoint be covered by the National Public Radio Agency, National Public Radio. It's essential. To get away from that, not only dissuades people from actually believing what you're saying, but it also dissuades the notion that NPR is valuable to the society at any level. When what you do is warp your coverage to half of America or less, what you do is you, by implication, slap around the people you disagree with. Why should people of the United States who disagree with NPR support it in any way? Again, this is not a choice. It's not a choice of the American people. The American people can tune away from MSNBC. They can turn away from Fox News. They can tune away from CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC. They can do all of that because they have the choice to. But Americans do not have the choice in funding NPR. They do not have a direct choice. Do I believe NPR should exist? Yes. But should it exist as an American institution as opposed to a leftist one? Also, yes. Especially if we're paying for it. Good heavens to Betsy. I mean, come on. It's not that hard. It's even more interesting. It's more interesting. Nothing's more fun than listening to somebody disagree with what I have opined or disagree with a news story and so on. None of those conversations are boring. I truly enjoy them. And I think that NPR would as well. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. Good morning. I'm John David Wells. There is a hobby of mine that I truly enjoy. It's golf. Love golf. Golf is fun. Golf is a great game. It tests all parts of not just your physical ability, but also your character as well. It's amazing. And those people who do it really, really well, they're just unbelievably amazing. I could never understand why my dad would sit on the sofa, or in most cases lie down on the sofa and fall asleep watching golf. And as I've gotten older, I find myself amazed at just how good those guys are. I mean, the guys that play in the PGA Tour, unbelievably good. And if you don't believe it, go out there and play a round of golf or two, right? And you'll figure out that those guys consistently make these brilliant shots. Those brilliant shots lead to a handsome earning, a handsome monetary earning for themselves every year. And the greatest tournament that there is starts tomorrow, the Masters. There are 3 golf tournaments that I try to watch every single year to varying degrees of success. One of them is the Players Championship. Love that tournament. Oh, it's just brilliant. Every single year. TPC Sawgrass puts on a show that is unrivaled, except by virtue of 2 other tournaments, both of which I like to watch, the Masters and the U.S. Open. So the Masters starts tomorrow. For the 88th time, the best golfers in the world will descend to Augusta National Golf Club. By Sunday, April 14th, one golfer will don an iconic green jacket, hoist the trophy as the latest winner of the landmark event, this being reported by USA Today. In addition to the jacket and trophy, the winner will earn millions of dollars from the event's annual purse. The event's annual purse. Yeah. The purse this year is pretty much amazing. In 2023, the defending champion of the Masters took home $3.24 million of the $18 million purse. It's expected to be a similar amount this year. The remaining money is distributed according to finishing position. Second place received $1.584 million. Third received $744,000 last year. The last placed golfer earned $45,060 in winnings from the event in 2023. Wow. Per data from golf.com, the winner of the Masters tournament in 1934, Horton Smith, took home $1,500. It remained pretty much that way through 1942. In 1946, $2,500 was the first place prize. It marked the first post-War II Masters tournament and increased the payout for the winning golfer. 1958, $11,250. That event saw the winner's purse pass 5 figures. 1984, $108,000. The purse more than doubled in 5 years to surpass 6 figures. In 2001, $1,008,000. That even saw the first $1 million winner's purse. Jon Rahm won the Masters last year ahead of Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson, who tied for second. The 2024 Masters will run from tomorrow to Sunday, April 14th. Who will be there? Well, Jim Nantz will be there. He will be there for the 39th consecutive year. And you know Jim Nantz. Hello, friends. His Sonar's baritone decorates that great golf tournament brilliantly every single year. He's very, very good at it. And it will be his 37th time hosting the broadcast. Nantz will call the 3rd and 4th rounds of the Masters on Saturday and Sunday with analyst Trevor Immelman, who won the 2008 Masters. Sunday afternoon, Nantz will host Jim Nantz Remembers Augusta, the Spanish inspiration, an hour-long show airing Nantz's view with 2-time Masters champion Jose Maria Olazabal, and will feature a tour of the golfer's homeland, the Basque Country in Spain. This year marks the 30th anniversary of his 1994 crown and 25th anniversary of his 1999 title. The program will also look at the generational bridge between Olazabal's late mentor, Seve Ballesteros, and current Spanish stars Sergio Garcia and Jon Rahm, both winners of the Masters. Nantz covered his first Masters in 1986 when he was 26 years old, responsible for creating the event's official slogan, "A tradition like any other." The phrase is now trademarked by Augusta. He's also called signature moments from Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, his college roommate, Fred Couples. Jim Nantz, when it comes to the Masters and golf and many other things, is a sports broadcasting superstar, and he will return. So he received a new contract from CBS in 2021. In a 2020 story from Front Office Sports, the father of 3 says he sees himself calling the Masters for longer than his initial goal of 50 tournaments. I used to joke around in speaking engagements. I know my retirement date already. God willing, if my health stays well and CBS is willing, that would be April 8th, 2035. I would love to close out my career at the Masters. But here we are. All of a sudden, it's now well within sight. I'm really feeling young. Got a couple of young kids who are 4 and 6 years old. That date is way too close to me to be talking about retirement. That being said, Vern Lundquist is finishing up his 40th Masters and will hang up his headphones following this broadcast. Yeah, he was the guy that on a Nicklaus putt that won the tournament. He said, "Yes, sir." And it was a perfect call in American sports. So the Masters starts tomorrow. So Don't call me when golf is happening, because I will be busy snoozing on the couch and incredibly excoriating anybody who sees fit to change the channel while I'm sleeping, just like my dad. This has been the Wells Report. I sincerely appreciate you participating today. Stick around, because tomorrow we're going to do this again with different stories, of course, and different takes, etc., but hopefully your participation. See you tomorrow. God bless you. Take care. And just like that, we've done it again. Happy Gilmore, the world's greatest golfer. I agree. You know what I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted to host a golf tournament. Certainly not at Augusta National, because you wouldn't want to do that. But someplace like a Muni somewhere, and call it the Disasters. And invite players that have a 30 handicap and above. The objective is to crown 2 champions. One who actually plays the best, and 2, one who absolutely plays the worst. When you need the worst golfing partner that you can possibly imagine, you go for the guy that finished last at the Disasters. And I don't know that I have time to be able to do that for 40 years, but I sure would like to try. I would. Of course, I'd be 106. Who wants that? Ew. That's all I have for today. Let's see. I could never get into golf, but my dad used to play and watch it on TV. Yep, that's a fact. Dad didn't play much. I played more golf than anybody in our family ever. And I've passed it along to my sons. And we always get together and play a round of golf. So far, I've beaten them every time. I don't know whether I'll be able to do that much longer, because Mitch is coming along. I'm just saying. God bless you and yours. Take good care. Thanks for watching today. Have yourself a wonderful time.